Welcome back to another Mobile Centrics Tips and Tricks. My name is Derek, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that I get a lot of questions on, and that is refurbishing. And I'm talking specifically about refurbishing of iPhone screens. So today I'm going to be going over the top 10 things that you need to know about getting into the world of refurbishing iPhone displays. Let's get into the video. When it comes to refurbishing iPhone displays, the 10 essential things to know are: first, understand the iPhone models. You need to gain a knowledge about the different iPhone models, their displays, the specifications, and the unique features that are associated with each of those models. There's a bunch of different types of displays found in the iPhones. First, we've got LCDs, which stands for Liquid Crystal Display. LCD screens are a standard technology that provide a good quality color with slightly lower contrast of black levels compared to other types of displays. For example, an OLED display, which is an organic light-emitting diode display, which offers vibrant colors, contrasting in ratios, and deep blacks. Each pixel themselves emits its own light versus an LCD where you have a backlit driven display, which means the entire display is lit up at the same degree, versus an OLED display where the individual pixels themselves are lighting themselves up. There's also Super Retina XDR displays. Super Retina XDR displays enhance the vision of OLEDs. Used on some of the iPhone models. And of course, you also have the ProMotion displays like on the iPhone 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max that have a higher refresh rate of 120 Hertz for smoother scrolling and faster response time and general improvement of the display's fluidity. Now that you understand the types of displays, let's talk about the second point, which is the different tools and equipment that you need to acquire in order to refurbish properly. I'm going to start with the most basic, and I'm also going to explain kind of where you need to go to be kind of in a professional setting. One of the first things that you need to have is a heat source of some kind. I prefer, and the majority of the refurbishing community prefers, a heat plate with suction. Having the ability to secure the display to a heating platform with suction provides an excellent platform to actually remove the glass without the display moving around, causing potential damage. Having the correct cutting wire is also essential. There's a variety of thicknesses of cutting wires. Depending on the type of display, the thickness of the OCA will determine the thickness of wire that you use. Some displays are harder to cut through than others, some are easier. Some have bezels, some don't. And so understanding these little nuances is something that you will learn as you go. And also having other tools like wire cutters, different grinders, different blades to help remove the bezels and cut through portions of glass and other things are required for refurbishing displays. And some of the other tools are something like a laminator and autoclave. A laminator to laminate the glass to the display, and an autoclave to remove any of the bubbles that the laminator doesn't get out. And the quality of those machines will vary depending on the manufacturer, how old they are, if they're used before, and the overall build. So some of them can be pretty pricey, others can be fairly inexpensive. It all depends as well on just the quantity that you're going to be doing, if it's something that you're either doing a lot of or not. And there are some other tools and equipment that we'll talk a little bit more about when we get to them further in the video. The third thing that I want to talk about is just overall safety precautions. Prioritizing safety by following precautions such as using safety glasses and gloves, either for cutting or for the actual chemicals that are used throughout the process. And having the proper ESD protection to prevent damages from occurring with that display, as static is not your friend when refurbishing, which stands for electrostatic discharge. And that static can be dissipated using the proper ESD protection. The fourth thing would be to understand the disassembly process. You need to learn kind of the step-by-step process for each model. There's going to be a lot of differences between the different models with the order of operations of what needs to come off first. Some displays, it's crucial to remove the bezel. In fact, most displays, it's crucial to remove the bezel in order to successfully remove the glass, where other displays, such as the newest models, you can leave the bezel on and in order to remove the glass, and it's actually preferred. Some bezels need to be cut in specific locations to make the process go smoothly. The fifth thing that you need to understand is the actual makeup of the displays themselves. For example, an LCD has several layers to it. You've got the glass, a layer of OCA, then you'll have the digitizer layer typically, and then another layer of OCA. Then you'll have the display, which is consisting of a polarizer, the actual displays, and then all of the layers of the backlight. Versus an OLED display, where it might be glass, then OCA, and then polarizer or digitizer, and then another layer of adhesive, then the display itself. So understanding those layers will help you in the refurbishing process so that you can control the outcome of the screen that you are refurbishing. Now, the sixth thing that you need to know is the actual process in replacing the digitizer or the polarizer throughout the process, because a lot of the time during the glass removal, the digitizer or the polarizer will get damaged. So understanding the procedure to remove the polarizer or the digitizer and the cleaning products that are associated with making your life easier throughout the cleaning process of the different adhesives that hold the components together. The layer of adhesive between the polarizer and an LCD is a different type of adhesive which can be removed with specific chemicals versus the adhesive, the OCA layer between the polarizer and the glass, which would use a different chemical in and of itself. So understanding the difference between 8333, 8222, Falcon 530, isopropyl alcohol, acetone, and a variety of other chemicals is crucial. Understanding the replacements of the different layers if needed throughout the process. The seventh thing that you need to understand is the handling of the different flex cables. Throughout the process, you'll run into different flex cables depending on the different models that you'll be working on. Through the manufacturing process, the way that they are adhered to make the display work or the touch work, you need to understand how to work around them. For example, on an iPhone 10, working to remove the bezel is extremely difficult because of the way that the bezel is adhered to the display flex. So throughout the process, if you aren't careful in handling that flex cable, you can damage the display on the first step of just simply removing the bezel, even before you get to even worrying about removing the glass. So understanding the different flex cables is something that will kind of come with time and with searching and educating yourself on the different models. The eighth thing that I want to talk about is understanding the adhesive application process, whether it is that you're adhering a polarizer or the digitizer with glass or the glass only, and the different adhesives that are used. So learning proper techniques and applying those adhesives will ensure that you have an even distribution of either the adhesive itself or correct alignment of the display on the glass. When it comes to repairing or refurbishing the different types of displays, there are basically two methods. One is more of what I would consider a low budget or a DIY version, which would be using LOCA, which stands for Liquid Optical Clear Adhesive, versus OCA, which is Optical Clear Adhesive. Both work and they each have their own kind of advantages. LOCA tends to have some advantages over OCA, which are that it's a little bit more forgiving because of the placement. It remains in a liquid state until a UV light is applied, which means you have the ability to kind of adjust the position of the display according to the glass. Whereas OCA, it's a one shot. As soon as it touches, it comes in contact, it's stuck, and there is no moving it around to adjust it. With either of these methods, you are going to have a strong bond of adhesive between the glass and the display. LOCA has the ability to kind of maneuver itself around with surface tension, different areas. For example, here on an iPhone 14 Pro, if I were to use LOCA, and I were to use it the correct way, nice and slowly, I'd be able to see the distribution of the LOCA very carefully around the glass all the way to the edges of the display, and it would actually work itself around the camera hole, for example, where the LOCA wouldn't actually roll over that area, it would work itself around that. Whereas an OCA sheet would already come pre-installed with that cutout around the camera so that I wouldn't have to worry about it. However, I do have that one shot alignment that I have to get perfect so that I don't have any issues there. One of the other benefits that LOCA has over OCA is if applied correctly, you won't have any bubbles using LOCA on the first go, where using OCA, you're inevitably going to end up with bubbles throughout the process, which can easily be removed given that the installation went smoothly in the beginning. If any adjustments, small adjustments had to be made, it's possible that there is a bubble that gets trapped that isn't possible to remove, and you'll have to kind of start all over by removing the glass again, cleaning things up, applying new glass with OCA, and retrying it, hopefully getting a better result. It's a lot cleaner, it's a lot quicker, it's more reliable, and it is more professional to use OCA either pre-installed or self-installed sheets versus using the LOCA, but either method will end up with a result that is desirable. So the difference really between LOCA and OCA, it really depends on your kind of a personal preference, your skill level, and kind of the requirements for that particular display or job that you're working on. In my opinion, though, LOCA is more convenient for kind of your DIY enthusiasts. Ultimately, it kind of also depends on the quantity. If you're doing a lot, then understanding and applying the techniques to use OCA is going to be better in the long run. All right, number 9, talk about quality control and testing. Throughout the entire process, you need to be checking your work. The beginning, testing the display to make sure all of the functions are there, that there's no pixel damage, no display damage, and no touch damage. And during the glass removal, once the glass is off, also testing to make sure that the touch and the display are still okay, that there aren't going to be any visible defects with the product. So if the wire pulled a piece of glass along and sliced up the polarizer or the digitizer, recognizing when a scrape is something that will cause an issue or not, or is something that will be able to be hidden, covered up, or will be present after the repair, which will allow you to know, I need to do one extra step, I need to remove this polarizer and replace it, or I need to remove this digitizer and replace it. So understanding the things that you almost can kind of get away with, because that's how it is throughout the testing process, so that one of the main time consumers of refurbishing is testing, because you test before, during, and after, and sometimes several times during the entire process. So, and then the 10th thing that I want to talk about is just getting a general understanding of troubleshooting skills. To develop your troubleshooting skills to address common issues that may arise during the refurbishing process, such as dead pixels, color calibration problems, touch sensitivity issues, and learning the techniques to resolve these problems. By understanding these key aspects, you'll be better equipped to successfully refurbish iPhone displays. It's best to practice on non-functioning or damaged screens to get a good feel for the actual process, and to also stay updated with the latest techniques and trends in the industry, or even develop some of your own techniques. I hope that this has helped. If this is something that you've been thinking about, getting into the world of refurbishing is definitely something that I see becoming a must in the industry as we get into screens that are becoming more and more serialized, and more and more issues arise with simply replacing the display or components. Being able to do these type of things, I think, is going to become crucial down the line. I know that we'll always find a workaround, but being able to have this skill not only can help you now, but I believe will help you down the road. Leave a comment below if you have any questions. Thanks a ton for watching. We'll see you in the next video.